If you've been in the fandom for longer than like 13 seconds, you've probably heard someone, in universe or not, shout about the Codex Astartes. The Smurfs love it, the Black Templars hate it, and a lot of other chapters just kinda tolerate it. But whether you support Rowboat Gargamel's book or not, it does set the standard for a lot of the different chapters of Space Marines that we paint and play, so it's probably worth giving at least a quick look. So welcome to Gone Hollow Minis. My name's Colt, and on this episode of T.O.E.s and Transfers, we're taking a dive into Codex Compliant Chapter Organization, Heraldry, and Transfers. But first, why T.O.E.s? A table of organization and equipment is a spreadsheet of how branches of the military are assembled and organized. But why stop at real militaries? Throughout the ages of Warhammer, many an author has attempted to fit chapters, legions, regiments, and more onto their own TOE, giving us players the chance to organize our own forces exactly how they would appear in the lore. T.O.E.s and Transfers is a series that puts all this information together, to give you the ultimate tool in collecting, organizing, and painting your miniatures, for the ultimate Codex-approved Warhammer army. So you've probably heard of Codex Compliant Space Marine chapters, and you've probably even noticed that it gets thrown around a lot with the Ultramarines and Ultramarine-like chapters. But what does it actually mean? First off, to boil the Codex Astartes down to its basics, it's a book that Rabute Guilliman wrote after the Horus Heresy that divided the Legiones Astartes into smaller chapters. Typically, this meant that a full-strength legion of 10,000 Space Marines would be broken up into 10 successor chapters, each of 1,000 Marines. It's basically the transitional document between the 9 legions of old and the innumerable chapters of the 41st millennium. The ethos was to prevent another heresy, dividing the Space Marines up so that no one chapter would have the strength to plunge the entire galaxy into another civil war. Not every legion liked this decision, and a few were even unable to follow the decree given their losses in the heresy. But those that did adopt it would adopt a standardized 10-company format, featuring specializations therein, as well as a common system of unit markings that would be applicable for any given chapter's heraldry. As such, Codex-compliant chapters are kind of Space Marines by the book. While they will all have different lore and flavor text to give them a little bit of their own unique flavor, they're definitely a little bit more standard than, say, Blood Angels, Space Wolves, or Black Templars. And because they are so standard, I feel like it's only right to cover all of the different chapters that are present on the standard Space Marine transfer sheet. Those are the Ultramarines, Imperial Fists, Salamanders, and the Raptors. Because there's so many, we'll be going over the standard formation first, seen in the Ultramarines. After that, we'll just be focusing on the unique ways that the other chapters interpret the Codex, instead of rehashing every detail. I also want to mention that with the exception of maybe the Ultramarines, just because these chapters are in this video doesn't mean that they won't get their own T.O.E.s and Transfers video later. I just wanted to make sure to cover this entire transfer sheet instead of just like a fifth of it. But let's start with the Blueberries. The Ultramarines are unique in that they are one of the few chapters in the 41st millennium to be reunited with their Primarch. As such, their command structure is a little bit different, but Guilliman is so busy nowadays that it doesn't really matter all too much. Let's start with the organizations outside of the traditional command structure. These all serve at the behest of the Chapter Master, and especially the Primarch, but act independently from the traditional chapter structure. Members of each are assigned to companies as needed. First is the Armory. This is led by Master of the Forge Fenius Maxim, attended by the chapter's Tech Marines. This body oversees the war gear and vehicles of the chapter. While vehicles may be assigned to companies, they are ultimately the responsibility of the Armory, so Tech Marines are a fairly common sight among the companies. Next is the Apothecarian. This is led by the Chief Apothecary, the Ultramarines Corpus Helix. The rest of the body is made up of the chapter's apothecaries. While a firm number isn't given, it's safe to assume that there's at least one per company, in addition to the Chief Apothecary. Next, there's the Reclusium. This is led by the Master of Sanctity, a title held in the Ultramarines chapter by one Orton Cassius. His second in command is the Reclusiarch Julianus Accolin. The rest of the body is made of the chaplains, who oversee the morale and purity of the chapter, as well as the Justiciars, Marines in training to become chaplains. The last organization is the Librarius. These are the Psychers and War Witches of the chapter, who also record the chapter's deeds, history, and knowledge in a quite literal library. They are led by the Chief Librarian. For the Ultramarines, this is Varro Tigurius, and unlike the others, we have a firm hierarchy on the Librarius. A Marine will enter as an Acolytum before moving on to the rank of Lexicanium. After Lexicanium comes Codicier. This is the rank that most librarians on the tabletop tend to represent. After that is Epistolary, a much more exclusive and knowledgeable position. And now we're on to the actual chapter command structure. Remember that each chapter is made of 1,000 Marines, 10 companies of 100 Marines each, Although that number does assume that the chapter is at 100% strength, and also doesn't include the extra marines in the Reclusium, Armory, Apothecarian, and etc. So 1000 is probably a bit of a lowball. At the top, of course, is Rabute Guilliman, Primarch of the Ultramarines. Ultimate command of the chapter falls to him, though he's a little bit busy being the, Lord Regent of the Imperium right now. So, if Guilliman isn't there, or we're discussing a different Codex Compliant chapter, command then falls to the Chapter Master. For the Ultramarines, this is Marneus Calgar. He oversees the 10 companies of his fellow Astartes, benefiting from the wisdom of his captains, equerries, and the heads of each of the chapter's extra hierarchical bodies. He is also attended by the Victrix Honor Guard, currently led by the Cato Sicarius, though the title of Honor Guards may change for non-Ultramarine compliant chapters. Now we're on to companies. The general layout here is accurate for all different Codex compliant chapters. Things such as the heraldic devices, company colors, roles of the captain, and even the strategic disposition of each of the company squads will be the same throughout each company. However, there are a couple different things that change, namely the specific title given to each company. For an example, we can compare the 4th companies of the Ultramarines and the Silver Templars. We see that the heraldic device and company colors are the same, as are the command squads and even the squad composition. However, for obvious reasons, the Silver Templars' 4th company are not the Defenders of Ultramar. First up is the 1st company. Their company color is white, and their heraldic charge is a white cross. These are the veterans of the chapter, and are led by the Regent of Ultramar. Below him are 2 veteran lieutenants, the company ancient who bears the standard, the company champion who excels as the company's finest duelist, and the assemblage of the company's veterans. The veterans amongst veterans, if you will. Beyond them, there are 10 veteran squads of 10 marines each. Being the veterans of the chapter, they are allowed their pick of the armory, and so don't have a specific battlefield role. They may choose to take to the field as they wish, since 1st Company veterans are most often sent to serve with the chapter's other battle companies instead of as a single unit. Here we also see things like dreadnoughts and land raiders, the older and more coveted resources of the chapter. The next 4 companies are the battle companies. These companies will see the lion's share of the fighting. Each of them is identical in organization and structure, but has slightly different identities and heraldic devices. The 2nd company are the Guardians of the Temple. Their company color is gold or yellow, and their charge is a pale in the same color. This company's captain is the Master of the Watch. The 3rd company are the Scourge of Xenos. Their company color is red, and their charge is a red bend. This company's captain is the Master of the Arsenal. The 4th company are the Defenders of Ultramar. Their company color is green, and their charge is a green chief. This company's captain is the Master of the Fleet. The 5th company are the Wardens of the Eastern Fringe. Their company color is black, and their charge is 2 black quarters. This company's captain is the Master of the Marches. Each of these companies is organized the same way. Leading each is a captain. Below him are 2 lieutenants. A company's command staff will consist of an ancient to bear the standard, a champion who exemplifies the company's martial prowess, and a number of veterans to both lend their experience to the captain and act as a bodyguard. Beyond that are the standard squads. Squads 1 through 6 are battle line squads. These contain units such as intercessors, tactical squads, and heavy intercessors. Squads 7 and 8 are close support squads. These could be units such as assault intercessors, outriders, or incursors. Finally, squads 9 and 10 are fire support squads, and could contain units such as aggressors or eliminators. In addition, a company may have its own dreadnoughts, transport vehicles, and tanks as assigned by the armory. The next 4 companies are reserve companies. These rarely see battle as a full unit, and instead exist to replenish and reinforce the other battle companies. However, they still have the same command structure of captain, lieutenants, and command squads. The 6th company are the Brethren of the Forge. Their company color is orange, and their charge is an inverted orange chevron. Their captain is the Master of the Rights. They consist of 10 battle line squads, as well as overseeing additional battle tanks, dreadnoughts, and transport vehicles. The 7th company are the Defenders of the Caesarian. Their company color is magenta, and their charge is a magenta party per pale. Their captain is the Chief Victualler. An actual title that I found referenced in history, by the way. You know you've screwed up if the commander of the victuals is on the battlefield with you. The company consists of 10 battle line squads, as well as additional land speeders, gunships, dreadnoughts, and transports. The 8th company are the Honor Blades. Their company color is gray, and their charge is a gray per bend sinister. Their captain is the Lord Executioner. The company consists of 10 close support squads, as well as additional bikes and dreadnoughts. The 9th Company are the Stormbringers. Their company color is Azure, and their charge is an Azure Fess. Their captain is the Master of Relics, and they consist of 10 fire support squads and additional dreadnoughts. Now, the 10th Company is a little bit weird. Traditionally, it's the Scout Company, where neophytes go to gain experience before they become fully fledged battle brothers. But in the era Indomitus, it's gotten a little bit more tricky. See, on its face, the 10th Company still functions as the Scout Company. It's overseen by the Master of Recruits and contains a command squad in addition to the unnumbered scouts of the chapter, in addition to accompanying transports, bikes, land speeders, and the like. However, in the era Indomitus, an additional formation has been included in the 10th Company. These are the Vanguard formations, units of 10 Vanguard squads. This can be anything from infiltrators and incursors to suppressors and invictor warsuits. These squads are overseen by a captain dubbed the Master of Reconnaissance, though it's unclear to me if this is another role given to the Master of Recruits or a different captain entirely. Essentially, it seems like a way to flesh out all 10 companies of a chapter without fully creating an 11th company. But either way, the inclusion was enough to give the 10th company its own company color, white, and a heraldic charge, a white pile. But that takes us through the organization of a Codex Compliant chapter, so how do we actually recreate that on the tabletop? Remember, just like with the company organization, these rules will be applicable to any Codex Compliant chapter, just swap around the base armor color. But talking about the Ultramarines, the standard armor color is blue, with red eye lenses. The Imperialis on their chest is typically gold. Company is denoted by the color of the pauldron's trim, each, of course, corresponding with the company's unique color. This color is applied to the trim on both pauldrons when possible. The left pauldron is reserved for the chapter symbol, while the right may be decorated with a number of symbols. The largest and most important is the battlefield role. This denotes a Marine's role, be it battle line, close support, fire support, or the rarer veteran or command roles. On top of this symbol is placed a numeral denoting the Marine's squad number. The Ultramarines use Roman numerals for this, though other chapters use regular numbers. There are certain distinctions by rank as well. A unit sergeant will gain a red painted helmet with green eye lenses, and a small applique skull. The Ultramarines additionally add a small red skull to the chapter symbol. They also paint the right knee plate white, adorning it with a blue chapter symbol and a small red skull. Veteran sergeants retain most of these changes, but gain a white stripe on top of their helmet. Veteran Marines get white painted helmets. Note here that the trim in the Codex resources is white because of the first company's colors. However, not all veterans are found in the first company, and this embellishment can be changed for your unique company color. Lieutenants swap the battlefield role icon on their right shoulder for a badge of lieutenant. Additionally, their helmet is painted with a broad red stripe, flanked by 2 thinner white stripes. The Ultramarines additionally paint their lieutenant's right knee plates white and adorn them with blue chapter symbols, minus the sergeant's skull. Captain markings are far less standardized, but tend to include the company charge on the right pauldron, as well as an applique device to show their status. Now, since we're doing a couple different chapters in this video, let's go ahead and go over the Ultramarines transfers before moving on to the Salamanders, Raptors, and Imperial fists. For the Ultramarines, we start with the standard chapter symbol. The top row is all 4 regular Marine-sized models. The first 6 on the bottom are for Terminators, and the ones to the right are sized for knee plates and scout pauldrons. Remember, the symbols with the skull are for sergeants, and the smaller blue chapter symbols are for sergeants, lieutenants, and captains. Here we also see some unique embellishments. We have blocks of text for vehicles or larger armor panels, a nice bit of Greco-Roman trim that looks great on tanks, and a few smaller chapter symbols for whatever you want to use them for. Now on to the generic transfers. Over here we have unique symbols determined by a unit's tactical role. Feel free to refer to the company organization section of this video to figure out which specific units have which role. The different transfer colors are just for better contrast depending on your armor's color. On the far right of the sheet we have symbols dedicated to individual ranks or roles. Most of these models have unique sculpted pauldrons and details, so you might not need these much, but they're all clearly labeled in case you need them for a bit of conversion work. At the bottom of this section we can see campaign badges. These are used to designate the Marines taking part in one particular campaign, and are shared across all the units that a company deploys to that specific theater. Now you'll also notice that there's 4 different sections of letters. Some are Roman numerals, while others are more Gothic-styled numbers. This just comes down to chapter preference. Some use numerals for squad markings, some use numbers. Between those 2 blocks, we have honor markings, aquillas, and other symbols. This cross-looking symbol is the Indomitus Cross, a badge of the Indomitus Crusade used as an honor marking for those who take part in it. The other iron crosses are similarly honor markings, but don't have the Indominus specific connotation. The skulls here are to help recreate the sergeant markings on chapters with symbols other than the Ultramarines. The Silver Templars, for instance, place a red skull on the tactical roll marking of their sergeants. The halos are, in fact, iron halos. While they lack the physical protection of an actual iron halo, they bear similar weight in honoring the wearer. Aquillas are Aquillas. Can never have too many of those. We also see more examples of trim and checker patterns. These can be used wherever you'd like, but since they're a little small for vehicles, I do recommend using them on Terminator Power Fists. I think it looks great. Now we're on to the other chapters on that transfer sheet. Again, I want to stress that I do want to give each of these chapters their own videos in this series eventually, but I just want to go over these quickly now so that we can get this entire transfer sheet out of the way. First are the Imperial Fists. In the Era Indominus, their chapter organization follows the Codex Astartes pretty closely. Their armor is a uniform yellow with blue eye lenses. Also note that there are images of sergeants and dreadnoughts wearing their company heraldry on their knee plates. It's not codified in the Space Marine Codex as far as I can tell, but it makes sense. Anyway, we can see that all of their markings followed those laid out by the Ultramarines, down to the colors and heraldic charges of the companies. Their transfer sheet follows the same pattern as well. The top chapter symbols are for standard-sized Marines, the ones with laurels are meant for veterans, sergeants, or other fancier units. Below are the Terminator chapter symbols, right next to smaller chapter symbols meant for scouts or knee pads. And of course, we have some more decoration you can use wherever you'd like. Now for the Salamanders, and here we have some differences. Their company markings are determined by the color of the pauldron and chapter symbol. The tactical roll on the right shoulder is omitted in favor of a flame symbol, except for veterans, who retain the veteran marking. For battle companies, this symbol is yellow, while in the reserve companies, it's black. The Marine's squad number is placed on top of the symbol in a Gothic numeral. And of course, lieutenants get a skull. Kind of annoyingly, not all of these combinations are possible with this existing transfer sheet. While you do get chapter symbols for both Marines and Terminators, they're all white. And the flame symbols too are all yellow. So I hope you like the first or second companies. The other markings, as I'm sure you can tell by now, are honor markings to award your Marines as you'd like. Now the Raptors. They're a little more complicated, so I'll try to keep things simple until they get their own video. They haven't gotten a full Primaris marking breakdown, but we can assume that they're probably fairly Codex compliant. Their armor is all OD green with a silver Imperialis. Their chapter symbol is on their left pauldron with their tactical roll on the right. We see squad number placed on the battlefield roll as normal, while the company number is instead placed on the right knee plate in a numeral. Their transfers echo that simplicity, as we basically only get chapter symbols. Same deal here as normal. Most size for Marines, a few Terminator variants, and a couple smaller ones for knee plates or scouts. There are a couple black chapter symbols, which I believe are in reference to an older color scheme in the chapter's history. Whew, that was a lot of transfers. Again, I want to reiterate and stress that each of these chapters will be getting their own video in time. This was just to go over this one unique transfer sheet. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. I apologize for any confusion in the Ultramarine section, since I was trying to walk the line between Ultramarine specific information and more just general Codex compliant information. If you have any questions or if there's anything that I didn't explain clear enough, please feel free to drop a comment and I will do my best to explain it there. In any case, thank you all so much for coming to my little corner of the hobby. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, why not drop a like and leave me a comment to let me know what you think. Subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss an episode, and until we meet again, friends, be safe, be kind, and don't you dare go hollow.